mental health awareness today. And my name is Robert Weathersby. I'm one of the members of our wellness ministry, and we welcome you. And we're going to open up with a word of prayer, and then we'll turn it over to our speaker for this morning, okay?
I say good morning again. Thank you all for being here this morning. Let us bow in the word of prayer. Father God, we want to thank you this morning for just blessing us and allowing us to see this day that's been coming ever since creation. Father, we want to thank you for allowing us to be a part of it. We want to ask God that you would just bless now our coming would not be in vain. That God, that you would just bless, oh God, those who would speak to us today, God, that we'll be enlightened and encouraged and knowing more about how we ought to deal with certain issues in our life. We thank you so much, Father God, for this beautiful day, God. And I ask you to, God, just touch our heart, touch our mind, God, that with the information that we receive, we would take it, we would share it, we would apply it, and God, that we would help others to know, oh God, how good you are, how loving you are to bless us and give us knowledge of certain things. Now we ask you to touch the speaker and those who will share with us this day, God, that you would just touch their heart and encourage them and inspire them what they're doing. We love you now. We praise you. We thank you for all things. We ask these blessings in Jesus' name. Amen.
Good morning. All right, we're going to go ahead and get started. We can go ahead and go to the first slide. What is mental health? Can anyone let me know in the audience, what does mental health mean to you? What does mental health mean to you? Well, actually, mental health includes our emotional, psychological, and social well-being. It affects how we think, feel, and act. It helps determine how we handle stress, relate to others, and make decisions. Can y'all agree with that? Okay, and I also want to ask a question right now. As you go out throughout your day, do you all experience any type of stress? How do you handle it? You sleep? Okay. Coping skills? Good. So what coping skill do you use? Good deal. Good deal. Good deal. Anyone else? Okay. What factors, next slide, what factors contribute to mental health problems? What factors contribute to mental health problems? Past traumatic events, yes. Yes, definitely, definitely. So we normally encourage everyone to try to get at least 6 to 8 hours of sleep a night, because it does impact your mental health. So we do encourage you all to get enough sleep. But actually, the factors include early adverse life experiences, just like Khadijah stated, past trauma. That can consist of child abuse, sexual assault, witnessing violence, experiencing some type of medical condition, which is diabetes, any type of cancer, biological factors or chemical imbalances in the brain, use of alcohol or drugs, and having feelings of loneliness or isolation. So those are some contributors to mental health problems. Next slide. Early warning signs. I want you all to pay close attention to these early warning signs, because if you start experiencing some of these warning signs, you definitely want to actually get with a healthcare professional. If you are eating or sleeping too much or too little, pulling away from people and unusual activities, having low or no energy, having unexplained aches and pains, feeling helpless or hopeless, thinking of harming yourself or others. And I do have that one highlighted because that is so important, because actually when you isolate yourself, you start having those negative thoughts. So we definitely want to make sure if you start having those symptoms of wanting to harm yourself or others, seek professional help. If you're hearing voices or believing things that are not true, feeling unusually confused, forgetful, on edge, angry, upset, worried, smoking, drinking, or using drugs more than usual. And something that I wanted to point out on this one, there are times when people actually would try to cope in an unhealthy way, and then they turn to substance, or they turn to some type of drinking. And that's something that we definitely don't want to do. Next slide. Okay. Most common mental health diagnosis, anxiety disorder. How many of you know someone who have anxiety? Okay. Has it affected you all in some type of way, their disorder? How? Okay. Anyone else? Okay. Anxiety disorders. Those are people where they respond to certain objects or situations with fear. Some examples of anxiety disorders are social anxiety, panic disorder, phobias, which is fear of heights or fear of flying, separation anxiety. How many know what separation anxiety means? Separation anxiety. They normally say that this particular disorder relates to kids, but no, it affects adults as well. But this is basically when someone is anxious when a person close to them leave their sight. Separation anxiety. And basically I want to go back where talk about social anxiety real quick. For some of my teens, this is actually for y'all. Do you all get to a point where maybe you playing some type of sport or having to speak in front of a crowd or anything like that, and it makes you feel kind of embarrassed or someone is judging you? That could contribute to some type of social anxiety. I'm not diagnosing you, but we just want to make sure that, you know, if you feel like it's starting to be a problem, consult your healthcare professional. Then we have behavior disorders. How many of y'all know about behavior disorders? Khadijah, what you know? So what do you have? Do you want to share it or not? You want to share your diagnosis? Okay. 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 So what would you tell someone in the crowd how you handle your diagnosis? Good. Good deal. Okay. So actually with behavior disorders, we have ODD, which is oppositional defiant disorder. And this disorder is basically when a child is being disobedient, very argumentative, and we have a lot of those kids displaying those behaviors at the school as well. And then we have ADHD. I'm sure some of you all have heard of ADHD as well. Okay, the next common mental health diagnosis is eating disorders. It involves extreme emotions, attitudes, behaviors involving weight and food. And two examples is anorexia and bulimia. Have y'all heard of those eating disorders? How can you distinguish one from another? Anyone know? Okay, that's fine. Anorexia is when you avoid eating, right? That's when you avoid eating. With bulimia, this is where people overeat, but then they turn around and they vomit. So those are the difference between the two eating disorders, anorexia and bulimia. So then we have mental health and substance use disorders, which sometimes occur together, and it affects the brain and the behavior. Mood disorders, persistent feelings of sadness or overly happy, or fluctuating between extreme happiness and extreme sadness. And some examples of that disorder is bipolar. Have you all heard of anyone having bipolar? So that falls under that disorder. Bipolar, major depression, and dysthymia. We can go to the next slide. All right, obsessive compulsive disorder, which is called OCD. Some people say I have OCD because I'm always constantly doing things repetitious. So basically, it's repeated upsetting thoughts, doing things over and over again to try to make the thoughts go away. And an example of this is also hand washing until your skin turns raw. And you may see someone always constantly checking their doors. And also maybe arranging canned goods to face the same way. And it's like they just want things in order, neat. All right, personality disorders. Can anyone tell me about the number one personality disorder that's being talked about now? Narcissistic personality disorder. And that's pretty much when people want to be in control and feel like they just basically fantasize of having power. And they display this arrogant type personality. So that's basically what narcissistic mean. And also borderline personality disorder. This disorder displays risky behaviors such as someone going out having unprotected sex pretty much for no reason at all. They just displaying those unrisky behaviors. Psychotic disorders. These symptoms include hallucinations and delusions. And that particular example falls under schizophrenia. How many of you all heard of people having schizophrenia? Okay, so that falls under psychotic disorders. Now we have trauma and stress-related disorders. This is living through or seeing a traumatic event. And this can include being involved in a car accident, being raped sexually, being kidnapped. Those are trauma and stress-related disorders, which can cause PTSD. And I'm sure a lot of you all have heard of PTSD, post-traumatic stress syndrome. Okay. Ways to maintain positive mental health. Khadijah, I like the fact that you stated that you sing, you do other things to maintain your mental health. So some other examples we're going to give is getting professional help if you need it, connecting with others. If you know someone who have been through something that you've been through, it's like peer groups. So we want you to make sure that you get with someone that's positive, someone that's going to work for you. No one negative, but we just want, some positive people around you. Staying positive. How many of you get up in the morning time and say affirmations to yourself? Positive affirmations. Do you write them down? Do you have an app on your phone? Anybody? Have you all learned this before? Have anyone ever taught y'all or told y'all about positive affirmations? Not you, can you, Khadijah? Who? Good job. Can you think of one positive affirmation that sticks with you? If you can't think of one, that's perfectly fine. Awesome. That's a perfect one. That's perfect. That's perfect. But as homework that we normally say as therapists, I want you all to start writing down some positive affirmations and use them daily. And also you can send them to your friends, send them to your family members, and that's just something to keep you, keep you positive, keep you encouraged throughout the day. Getting physically active. Who works out? And you don't have to work out, just some type of exercise. Good deal. And that helps as well. That helps with stress. That helps your stress level. Getting active, even if you do at least 30 minutes a day, at least put the effort in. Helping others by doing some type of good deed. And like Ms. Robbins said, getting enough sleep. That is the main thing, getting enough sleep. Because if you don't, let's just say, for instance, if you go to bed at 3, 4 o'clock in the morning, you got to be at work at 7. How you gonna feel? Tired, sluggish, having an attitude, right? So we want to make sure that you're getting enough sleep. And to develop some positive coping skills. Next slide. Y'all, I apologize for, the letters are so small. I apologize. But what we're going to discuss right now is healthy and unhealthy coping skills. And I want to know from the audience, what is one negative coping skill? Okay. Anything? Huh? Good. Smoking, what else? a negative coping skill? Smoking? We recommend that you do not do any type of, drinking or smoking. But listen, what we're going to discuss is some of the negative coping skills, which is drug or alcohol use, overeating, social withdrawal, self-harm, aggression, sleeping too much or too little. So we want you all to start engaging in some positive coping skills, which is exercise and journal. And before you all leave, we do have tables set out so that each and every one of you all can receive a journal. Get a journal, get an ink pen, and some more brochures out there. So you can start tonight or in the morning writing in your journal your first positive affirmation. Listening to calming music. A lot of people say, I listen to music, but some of the music be as to where it's not making them think straight, making them want to do, negative things. So we suggest that you listen to calming music. Talking about your problem. Healthy eating, like what Ms. McLean said. Seeking professional help. Relaxation techniques. How many of you all utilize the deep breathing technique throughout your day when you feel stressed? Because sometimes we just need to take a deep breath. That's right. That's right. That's right. That's right. Using your social supports and actually problem-solving techniques. Those are some healthy coping skills that we want you all to engage in. Next slide. How common are mental illnesses? So, how many of you all know someone that suffers from a mental illness that's close to you? Okay. So, more than 50% will be diagnosed with a mental illness or disorder at some point in their lifetime. 1 in 5 Americans will experience a mental illness in a given year. 1 in 5 children, either currently or at some point during their life, have had a seriously debilitating mental illness. 1 in 25 Americans live with a serious mental illness such as schizophrenia, bipolar, or major depression. And before we go to the next slide, I do want to go back and discuss what is the most #1 common disorder that there is right now in the world. Can somebody let me know? Who said it? That's it, depression. So has depression affected any one of you all in some type of way? Okay, so let me ask you this. Can you all think of the most recent traumatic event that we all have experienced? That's right, the pandemic. And a lot of people are still pretty much coping through that because they've lost loved ones. Some people lost their jobs. Some people lost their husband, their wife, family members, and that takes a toll on everybody. Not just that person, but family members, co-workers, other people. So that's something that we want to make sure, if you're dealing with any type of depression, or whether it's major depression, make sure that you seek some type of professional help, because it's help out there. It's help out there. And depression has impacted 300 million people, and it generally affects more women than men. And some of the symptoms includes loss of appetite, difficulty sleeping, sadness, feeling of guilt or low self-worth, and loss of interest or pleasure. All right, we can go to the next slide. All right, for people with mental health problems, the first thing we want you all to do is build your support system. Find someone such as a parent, a family member, teacher, faith leader, healthcare provider, or other trusted individual who will give you advice when you want it and when you ask for it, and assist you in taking action that will help. That allows you the space to change, to grow, make decisions, and even make mistakes, because no one is perfect. But make sure that particular person is there to help you, to build you up. And also someone who you like, respect, and trust, and vice versa. Make sure you're receiving that same type of that respect as well. Also, someone who listens to you, shares with you both the good and bad times. Respect your need for confidentiality so you can tell him or her anything. Let you freely express your feelings and emotions without judging, teasing, or criticizing. And most importantly, someone who has your best interest in mind. Okay. This is for parents and caregivers. It is important to be aware of warning signs. If your child shows one or more of the following behaviors, please consult with a healthcare professional. Feeling sad or withdrawn for more than 2 weeks, and we definitely encourage that. A lot of the kids be wondering, why my mom said it, watching me do this or watching me do that. I mean, it's not because we don't want you to do certain things, but we want you all to make better decisions than what you're making, because we care about, we care about you all. Because mental health is real, and drugs and alcohol really does not mix with mental illnesses. So, feeling very sad or withdrawn for more than 2 weeks, seriously trying to harm or kill himself or herself, or making plans to do so. And we suggest that for the parents to conduct a room sweep, which means go in the room, look through the drawers, up under the bed, up under the mattresses, book bags, if they got a vehicle, look in their vehicles, because you want to catch it early on. So we ask that the parents conduct room sweeps. If you notice your child is getting in many fights or wanting to hurt others, showing severe out of control behaviors that they can hurt oneself or others, if they're using drugs or alcohol repeatedly, red flags. Having severe mood swings that cause problems in relationships. Not eating, throwing up, or using laxatives to make him or herself lose weight. Make sure that you all try to pay attention to those symptoms. And with the last one, that pretty much contributes to the eating disorder, anorexia or bulimia. So that is common as well, especially with some of our young ladies. Next slide. For parents and caregivers as well, pay attention to these most difficult situations. If the child has lost a loved one, which can include a family member or a close friend, please make sure that you monitor them. We don't want them to isolate themselves, because they can be going through a slight depression. Divorce or separation of their parents, that takes a toll on a child as well. Any major transition, locating to a new school, new home, things like that, traumatic life experiences, sexual assault, child abuse, rape, anything like that. Make sure that you're paying attention, because they feel like they can handle things on their own, and actually they cannot. Teasing or bullying, we want to encourage the parents, make sure that you ask your kids those questions. Are you being bullied at school? Is someone messing with you at school? Make sure that you all have that bond with your child so that you can ask them those questions. And if you start noticing any type of difficulties in school or with classmates, make sure that you talk to that child, and possibly you probably can get a referral to seek professional help. Next slide. So, how many of you know or have a friend that have lost someone? They could have lost their mom, they could have lost their dad. Anyone? Okay. So we definitely want you all to be a support for them as well. So this is some brief information supporting a friend or family member with mental health problems. And the thing is, when someone loses a loved one, they can fall into a slight depression, but we want you all to still pay close attention to that person as well, and express your concern and your support. Remind them that help is available and that mental health problems can be treated. Reassuring them that you care about him or her. Try to include them in your plans. Continue to invite them without being overbearing, even if your friend or family resists your invitations, and always ask questions. Listen to ideas and being responsive when the topic of mental health problems come up. And with all this helpful information, we want to make sure that they get immediate help, and that help is available. So one, if you do not have a healthcare professional who is able to assist you, please contact Emergency Medical Services 911. If the situation is potentially life-threatening, get immediate emergency assistance, again, by calling 911. It's available 24 hours a day. And last but not least, if you or someone you know is suicidal or in emotional distress, call or text 988 Suicide and Crisis Lifeline, or you can chat 988lifeline.org. Next slide, and thank you all for attending our Mental Health Awareness Health Fair. Any questions? Any questions from the audience? No questions? I think so too.
It has been great, and you've done an excellent job on covering.
Thank you. Thank you. All right.
Say also, just back on what Smith just said, because mental health, people somewhere don't realize that's a sickness or illness too.
Yes.
Is some, and Smith point out, that some think that they are embarrassed to point out or to acknowledge that they may know someone of themselves, they themselves have that problem, and they don't want to connect to that mental health.
Right.
I think more needs to be talked on about that, so people don't realize come to realize that is an illness, that's
Right.
a sickness just like anything else. And,
That's right.
need to be dealt with.
That's right. And I pretty much tell a lot of people, especially my clients, it's okay to not be okay. And help is out there, help is available. So the thing is, just look at it, just imagine you're not the only one that's going through. It's somebody that was already in your shoes before, you know. So I would recommend, don't ever be embarrassed, always seek help, because it's out there, it's available. And especially for the, young kids, teens, y'all being faced with so much now these days, especially in the school setting, so we don't want you all to hurt yourself, hurt others. Always, if you don't have a therapist, counselor, seek one. If you have a pastor, go to your pastor, go to your faith leader, go to someone that you can actually trust, and someone that has your best interests in mind. Yes?
Good morning.
Good morning.
I just want to say, I also deal with, work at the VA hospital in Jackson, and I deal with a lot of people that come in, and, they have to ask me, where's my appointment?
Mm-hmm.
And I say, mental health, and then the first thing they think about was, you must think I'm crazy, and I say, no, we could all use some mental health,
That's right.
because we don't know what each other may be dealing with, and we have so much, depression and, things going at home, the children raising the parents, they on crack cocaine, there's so much, peer pressure that we're
Yes.
dealing with today, and I tell them, I say, no, don't think of it like that.
Mm-hmm.
Just think of it, I say, I can use some mental health, can I go up for your appointment today? Let me go
Right.
up, let me talk to somebody, because I may need to release something.
That's right.
But as you stated, don't be ashamed of it, because, and where I see it, it's like, some people can overhear what you're saying, I try to say it,
Mhm.
Not to embarrass anybody.
Right.
You don't want them to be embarrassed.
Right.
You don't want them to be ashamed of mental health.
Right.
And we also deal with a lot of people coming in also that have suicidal problems.
Yes.
They're ready to, when they come
Mhm.
in, because I had a gentleman that came in one time, and he was like, we had to ask him, where you going, or what do you need, and, he kind of hesitated, and I said, well, you don't want me to know, and he told me, he said, I'm contemplating suicide. So it was like the lady that was with me in that area, she said, take him right away
Oh,
to
yeah.
the emergency room,
Immediately.
because he needed help, and he
Mhm.
needed help
Mhm.
And yes, he was African American.
Mhm.
So don't be ashamed of that.
That's
because
right.
We have so much that we dealing with.
Mhm.
Take on, have all these stress of monetary. We don't have the money that we do.
Finances,
Some people
yes.
get stressed out. They get upset about it. It's a lot.
It is.
But the truth be told, we all use mental health.
That's right. That's right.
Because some people even call in, I just need mental health day to day, which means they need to
Wind down, collect their
think
thoughts.
about it.
Mhm.
I need my mind to rest.
That's right.
I have worked so hard on this job this week. I just need a day for myself.
That's right.
And I tell them, take your day and enjoy your day. Do something.
That's right.
Go get a manicure, go get a pedicure, or go out to eat, go to a movie, whatever it is to kind of release your mind. But
That's
number one thing, keep God out front,
That's
and everything will be all right.
That's right. That's right. Thank you. Thank you. Thank you. And we as mental health therapists, we have our own therapists as well. You know, because we take on so much from others. We pour out so much into others. So we have to make sure that our mind is still intact, because if not, we can't provide the services that we need to others. And they are definitely dependent on us. Definitely. Yes.
Sister January point, the stigma in the African American community is real.
Yes.
You know, we joke a lot of times, tease a lot of times. Sometimes individuals and friends and family, they're trying to come to us and say, hey, look, I got a problem or I got an issue. But when you call them crazy,
Mhm.
you say, it's just all in your head, I'm worried about it.
Right.
Sometimes they need to meet, just have that conversation. But we put that burden on them to make it feel as though something crazy is
Mhm. Mhm.
and I think we got to get rid of that
Stigma. Yes.
and be able to let people express themselves and us not, make fun of them or tease them or anything of that nature. Because it's real.
It is. It is.
Especially in our communities and our family and loved ones
Mhm.
to a heightened extent because they're not seeking
The help.
out that help.
Mhm. Right. Ms. Robin?
I was gonna ask, if there were resources available for who may experience something, and they don't feel comfortable maybe talking to someone face to face. They don't have anybody close to them, or maybe they are embarrassed, are there hotlines,
Mhm.
numbers that they can call, somebody, on their own, if they're not ready to disclose anybody.
Right. Right. There are several resources out there, and I don't have it with me, but if you don't want to do face-to-face, it's so many telehealth options out there. People that don't even know you, but they're willing to, talk to you. You just have to go through the process of submitting your information and everything. But if anyone needs that information, I can get it. I definitely can get it to you. Yes. Because there is a lot of people, they don't want, people in their business, they don't want to go to a certain location because such and such work there. I don't want them to think that, like Robert was saying, I'm crazy or anything like that. So there are definitely other resources out there where, you can conduct face-to-face, telehealth sessions with a therapist that you don't know. But the most important thing is, when you're seeking a therapist, just making sure that the engagement is good, because if not, it won't work. You have to be fully engaged. Oh.
What's more common if a person feel that way? Are they more likely to go to someone closer to them, or do they seek someone who may not know?
Someone that they don't know. Because if they know you, they're not gonna fully be receptive. Because they probably feel like, she gonna go tell my business, she gonna tell that person, and so they normally go to people who they just definitely do not know. Which is a good thing. Because if they have that in the back of their mind, the treatment will not work. It will not work because they're gonna be hindering certain things instead of expressing themselves fully. Yeah. Ms. January.
I have one more thing. We also have a 1-800 hotline, especially if they're contemplating suicide, that they can
What-
call,
Talk.
because they tell us, if you get a call
Mhm.
that says, I need help and I need it right now, number one thing they teach us,
That's
Don't
right.
let them hang up. Because they, and it's so many of the young men, I see it all the time, they come in with no limbs, they don't have legs, they don't have arms.
Mhm.
They were blown up when they went over,
Right.
you know, in the military. And we see this all the time, but they're hiding behind the mask.
Yes.
Because a lot of them turn to drugs, they turn to alcohol.
Mhm.
Because they'll tell you, I can't depend on my family. They don't understand, or they don't realize what I'm going through.
Mhm.
But we do have a 1-800 hotline, for if anybody knows any veteran that may be thinking about, has that thought in their mind,
Mhm.
just have them call that 1-800 number. And I'm gonna find what that number is. I'll
Okay.
give it to you.
That'll work.
But it's a number that they can call to try to get some help.
Okay.
Because you don't want them to get off the phone, because once they get off the phone,
You never know. It's over. Yeah. You just never know.
so we try, because I talk to them all the time, and say, you don't have to, make them go, come on, it's got to be something positive
Right.
in your life, something, your wife or your child,
Mhm.
something, try to put something in their mind that makes them happy,
That's right.
to bring them to that happy point, to say, you know what, I got a reason to.
That's right. That's right. That's right. That's right. Thank you. Any more questions?
One last thing, I know we're talking about adults seeking help, going to their healthcare professionals. I'm glad you brought out in your presentation for the youth that, whether it's at school, at church, there's somebody that you can go to if
Mhm.
you don't feel comfortable for whatever reason, going to your parents or, there's somebody that you can seek out. It needs to be somebody that's positive.
That's right.
It needs to be somebody that's on the right track, somebody that you admire, somebody that you serve as a mentor. Just seek out any and everybody
That's right.
to invest in, to talk about your problems with. Make sure it's somebody that is solid, somebody that can give you some good.
That's right.
There's always somebody.
That's right. Because we get it a lot. A lot of the youth that come to our office, they will fully just open up to us, and the parents have no idea what's going on. And we really can't say anything unless they at risk of harming themselves. And but that's how we build that engagement. That's how we build that, that trust amongst the therapist and the client. But yeah, for the teens, just make sure, reach out. Is help available? All right. Any more questions? All right, well, that concludes our presentation. Thank y'all for coming out.